Hello everyone, Tallie and Farrell here from Boardabit, and today we're going to be discussing Dinosaur Island. Now, if you've seen us before, this video is not going to be our usual concise scripted review format for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there's so many weird design choices in Dinosaur Island that we really just want to discuss them all. Secondly, and the main reason, is that usually Farrell and I pretty much agree on most things and most games. So the review is our shared opinion. However, with Dinosaur Island, we disagree on a lot. So that's kind of hard to write up in a review. So once we've explained how the game works, we're just going to kind of go freeform and discuss and debate the mechanisms and design choices.
Yeah, so Dinosaur Island is for between 1 to 4 players. And you could essentially describe it as Jurassic Park, Roller Coaster Tycoon, the board game. While there's nothing really new or innovative here, the theme is really cool and it does do a lot of heavy lifting, and there is fun to be had with that theme. Mechanistically though, it's a bit strange because rather than being like a game of a single focus, it's more like 4 games on each other's shoulders wearing a trench coat and pretending to be a game. Is it dice drafting or is it worker placement? Is it tile laying or is it economic park management? Like, what's going on? And it just seems like the designers took a bunch of mechanisms they really enjoyed and shoehorned it all into one box. But what's weird is that it's actually a functional game and it kind of works. But so there's a lot to discuss here. So this video is quite long and we cover from start to finish. So we start with like phase 1 of the game and the setup, and we continue to the end game. So we're sorry if it's a bit long, but we just had a lot of fun talking about it. And before we get into that though, let's show you how to play. Players begin with a few scientists, a few workers, an empty park, and some basic DNA. Hello everyone, Scientist here. I would just like to inform you that there is no such thing as basic DNA and advanced DNA, even when it comes to creating dinosaurs. So I will be awarding this game -1 science point. The game is played over a series of rounds, which continue indefinitely until a certain number of required endgame objectives are met. And then the game will end at the end of that round. In each round, there are 4 phases. In phase 1, you'll use your scientists to obtain DNA, obtain dinosaur recipes, and to increase the amount of DNA you can hold in storage. I would also like to point out that there is no need to increase your cold storage to allow you to hold more dinosaur DNA, because DNA is microscopic and it makes no sense in terms of scientists working in a lab. -2 science points. I would also like to point out, lastly, that the fact that you have an action for obtaining a dinosaur recipe and obtaining DNA makes no sense, because the dinosaur recipe would be DNA of the dinosaur. So it's a bit superfluous. -3 science points. In phase 2, you go to a shared marketplace where you can buy various things, such as specialists, which usually give you a special action and an extra worker, some attractions and amusement tiles, which will help you get more people into your park, and some laboratory upgrades, which give you variable options when you come to phase 3, the worker placement phase. This is done simultaneously around the table, and each player just does worker placement on their own personal player board. This is also the phase where you'll be creating dinosaurs and filling out your park. For every dinosaur you create, your excitement level will rise, which means that more people will be coming to your park, so you'll get more money and VP. However, every dinosaur you create will also lead to an increase of your park's threat level, and it becomes a constant battle to match your security level to your threat level to prevent your patrons from being eaten. In phase 4, patrons come to visit your park, and you will draw them out of this bag and place them outside your park. You'll either draw patrons, which are the gold people, or you'll draw hooligans, which are the pink. And for every patron you draw, you get $1 and nothing for the hooligans. Then you start putting people inside your park, hooligans first, into spaces that can fit them. And then once all the people that can get in your park are there, you'll count them up, excluding hooligans, and take that many VP. Then at the end of the game, you'll be scoring up the end game objectives and scoring for dinosaurs in your park, which is printed on the tile they come with. Now, I guess we're ready for the debate. So I think we're just going to go through bit by bit. So I think we'll start with like phase one and go through. And then at the end, we'll talk about some of like overall mechanics and storage and stuff like that. But so yeah, in phase one, as we said, you have your little scientists and you kind of use them to get DNA and dinosaurs. And one thing I personally like about this is that they're all weighted with different numbers. So a 3, if you use that to get this DNA, then you get 3 of that DNA. Or you have to use a 3 to get a large carnivore. And so they're all kind of weighted, and it presents quite interesting dilemmas, like more than you usually would. And because this could be considered a classic work placement phase where one person puts a scientist down, grabs something, and then next person decides what they want to do.
Yeah, except it's scaled, with the weighting of the scientists,
Yep.
I think it's quite good as well that they give you the opportunity to just pass and not spend a scientist. And then that means you can actually use one of your scientists as a worker in phase 4, which we'll obviously talk about when we get there.
Good point, actually.
So phase 3.
Yeah. So another thing, I guess, is just a weird design choice, and there's a few littered around, but this is just like an example, right? So this is like classic worker placement, right? You'd agree, because there's only a limited number of things, spaces. And so they give you these kind of crappy little tokens. But then over here in phase 3, when you have like a solo worker placement, they give you proper people. And I don't understand why they either didn't do both or make this the phase where you have the workers, where it's like more important to be seen what's like, being done. Because here in phase 3, you could literally have like little action cubes or something and say, you have 6 actions, and then they just put them down. It's just like a really weird design choice for me, right?
Yeah, I get your point, but I personally would never even thought about it if you didn't bring it up. So now you've mentioned it, it is a little bit strange there.
Just dinky, right? I don't.
But they have to write 1, 2, and 3 on it.
Yeah, but you could have a meeple with 1, 2, and 3 on them in big numbers, right?
I guess so.
But also another thing that's annoying about these, just side note, is what happens is it's like tough to take them back, right? And you throw them at people. And then what happens is the back isn't the same as the front. So they get thrown somewhere and then people are going, oh, where's my scientist? Happened yesterday, right? Where's my scientist? And because you're looking for a number and it's like sat on something. Yeah, anyway. The
solution to that is don't throw the tokens at me, Farrell.
Well, yeah, but it's just still an annoyance, right? Sometimes you can't help it. People are far away. One
thing I really like and I think is very interesting in phase 1 is that the dice that you can choose has pips on it, which indicate threat level in this game. And whatever is remaining here, the highest threat level comes over here, and everyone gets an increase in threat level at the end of the round. So sometimes you end up taking the DNA with the highest threat level to like take one for the team, as we say. I'll take that DNA for the team.
Yeah, well, we do say that all the time. You're right. It's almost, although like getting the dinosaurs, which we'll come to, is the main part that's like tough, right? That's tight.
Yeah.
But the DNA is never so much. Maybe someone wants something, but it's not that bad. So you do say, oh, well, I'll take that for the team. I'll take this for the team. Because DNA is just easy to get. Yeah. And this is a theme we'll come to throughout that makes some balance issues. But DNA is easy. Like if someone takes a blue one and it's the last one, you're like, oh, whatever. Like it's never... Yeah, no, it's a good point as well.
Yeah. So the dinosaurs, you can only take like one per level each round. So once the herbivore has gone here, once someone's taken one, then that's it. You can no longer take one. And then you have the small carnivore and the large carnivore. So I'll let you talk about that, Farrell.
All right, yeah. So this is one of my personal pet peeves and where I think the game's a bit broken. And I know a lot of other people agree online. I know the designers have also said they've play tested it loads, and it's not an issue. But if everyone thinks it's an issue, then isn't it an issue?
I personally, I love this game. Yeah. But I will agree with what you're about to say.
Yeah. But it's just this point of like, you can't tell people it's not an issue if they think it's an issue, right? Yeah. Generally nowadays. But so you've got your herbivore, right? And you get 2 excitement points and 2 VP per herbivore, increases your threat 1 level. You've got small carnivore. So the main cost is more and more DNA to build these. And again, DNA is very easy to come by. So you get small carnivore, you get 2 excitement, you get 4 VP per dinosaur, and an increase of 2 threat levels. Now, you come to the large carnivore, you get 3 excitement, you get 7 VP, and you get an increase of 2 threat levels, not 3. It doesn't make any sense because it just nerfs everything behind it, because you do this all the time. And there's just almost no point getting anything other than a large carnivore if you can, because it's only 2 threat levels, right? And you get 7 VP for it and 3 excitement. Small carnivore, same issues, way less of everything. And like the herbivore is all right, it's quite balanced. There's only 1 threat, and you get two excitement, which is pretty good for what it is. Less VP, but I find this, I still can't believe this, because it really does feel like, because as Tallie said, you can only get 1. When someone takes it, it's just like they're ahead, right? Kind of for that round.
Yeah. And
there's an issue with this, taking it, because the first person kind of gets to take it, right? And this is something we'll come to later, but it's a big issue with the turn order, which kind of exacerbates this problem. But yeah, I don't know. What are you going to say?
I will agree that the small carnivores are a bit silly. I mean, it's supposed to balance out by, like you said, the level of DNA. So the large carnivores are
3 advanced there.
Yeah.
And this is 1 advanced.
Are harder to build from the DNA.
Deploy.
But it's not that hard that you would ever want to take the small carnivore and still increase your threat level by 2, because it is actually pretty hard to manage your threat level with your security level. It is the hardest part
of the game.
It's just not worth it. It would be more beneficial to just, if you couldn't ever get the large carnivore, to just take the herbivore and create more dinosaurs rather than having the small carnivore. But I guess it's supposed to balance out, because you can't just keep taking large carnivores without building them. I like saying build a dinosaur.
Deploying cows in clans of Caledonia.
If you have an empty enclosure without a dinosaur at the end, then you lose 10 VP, right? So that's supposed to negate people just taking those enclosures, because you do have to think, okay, can I actually build the dinosaur by the end of the game? But it's never a problem, really, like you say, to build the dinosaurs, because the DNA is quite easy to come by.
If there is a limit to building them, it's not to do with the DNA, it's to do with maybe the worker placement spaces you have, or the workers available, or, because when you get to the second phase, you can also buy DNA. So again, it's like, if you really need to. But yeah, I know a lot of people have also said this claim about the small carnivore, and to me, it's just the fact that it's just the lack of a 3rd threat level. It's just really crazy to me.
Yeah. Agree. But it doesn't. It's not a pet peeve like you, because if someone just kept taking the large carnivore, if I was in a game, I would then just keep taking herbivores and just building more of them in the 1 enclosure.
But I know there are some strategies, but it's just, do you think though that if say everyone kept getting carnivore ahead of you, do you think you could ever win with just herbivores?
I'm pretty sure I've done it.
Just herbivores though, no carnivores?
Let me think. Maybe. Built a lot of them. But I guess it ties into what the objectives are.
Yeah. Okay, so I think, is there anything else in phase 1? We've covered pretty much every space. Cold storage is fine, right, to increase, because you start quite limited to what you can get, especially considering you have this 3 worker, and you could, if I did this, I'd get 9 DNA, right? So it's quite limiting, but also it's something you only do because you have to. There's no fun in it, or difficulty. It's like not challenging. It's not like, oh, Tallie's increased her cold storage, right? It's fine. Like, it's not something to complain about, but it's like, it's just something to be annoying almost to increase it. It's not fun. Yeah. It's not strategic to increase it.
I guess there is some strategy in deciding which to increase though. Like, do you increase the basic DNA and then hold more basic DNA, because then you can refine the DNA later on to make advanced DNA, or do you just increase the cold storage of the advanced DNA and just accumulate it from the beginning and therefore save a worker in the end, because you have to use a worker to get refined DNA, or spend more money in phase 2 to get advanced. So there is maybe a bit of strategy. What I usually find is I increase it once or twice, or even once, just using the 3-level scientist, increase it 3 times. And then that's probably set for the game a lot of the time, because you can never acquire like that much DNA. Like, not that you can acquire a lot of DNA, but you don't need to, because you can only maybe make 1 or 2 dinosaurs per round. So you only ever really need to hold that much DNA to make 1 or 2.
And you'll always come to this phase. So, but also, just side note, these dice are pretty cool, hefty. Like, I guess they're supposed to be amber, but they're just something I really like about the game. One thing to note, actually, that it doesn't bother me, and I guess not you, but I know people were a bit disappointed that the dinosaurs are all functionally the same. Like this dinosaur is no different than this dinosaur. Like, in terms of any challenges faced, it's just that it costs more DNA, but it doesn't take up any more space or any more difficulty besides the threat level. I think people really thought that originally all these dinosaurs were going to be different. So, like, I don't know, if you have a giant brontosaurus, it's a herbivore, but it might take up 2 spaces instead of 1. And it's like, things you have to think about, but that doesn't happen. But this isn't something that bothers us. There's so much else to think about.
Never thought about that.
It's just, I saw people weren't happy, so it's worth addressing that. It doesn't bother us.
I get it though. Once they're out, they're the same. It's just the building them that is different.
So I guess, we'll get to the components later. So phase 2, here is the marketplace, shared marketplace. It's not too bad. I quite like the mechanic that if you pass, you get $2. So you can sometimes you pass and then buy something the second time round.
What I quite like about it is you get 2 actions in this phase. So you do get 2 opportunities to purchase a variety of things. So you can buy lab upgrades, which help you in your phase 3 and worker placement. You can buy attractions to fill in your park, which can sometimes hold patrons or just give you VP. And you can buy staff specialists,
which are probably the least interesting, right? You only buy them to get more workers. It's never usually. I mean, they're okay,
it depends
but
what comes out. There's quite a lot of cards, so that's quite nice. It can be different every game. I don't know. I think this is a little bit strategic as well, because basically, whenever they are taken by another player, they shift up.
Next round, though.
So if these were taken in the next round, these would move up, and that would mean they're cheaper, because it goes from $2 down to $5.
It's more expensive the lower you get. So
that's quite interesting, because it's, do you risk, this is $5, this one, but you really want it, do you just pay it, or
That's a good point.
Take a risk and hope that no other players buy it, and then it will move up in the next round and it will be cheaper. I think the only thing is with the attractions that I find is they can be quite expensive.
But you do need them. So I guess one issue that comes in the final phase is that your excitement level goes up. Say you build a large carnivore, and your excitement level goes up 3, but you can only hold 1 person per dinosaur. So now, you have a difference of 2 there. So you need extra spaces. So you do need these attraction tiles. And sometimes it can be quite a fight over them, who gets to go first, which again we'll come to later with the turn order issue. But one thing I would say is that, there's some attraction tiles that basically just give you VP and take up space in your park. It's kind of okay if there's an objective, but generally they're a bit useless, because as we just said, you need spaces, you need more space, and they only give you VP. So it's unless it's the final round and you have spare money, I would only buy those if I had spare money. But there's a lot of them. It's not one, in this, half of them are, half of them have no spaces. It's just VP, and it's
What I think is quite good though is that there are certain lab upgrades that are always available. So you don't have to worry about that. So like for instance, this one is create one dinosaur. So you already have that in your phase 3 player map, but it's more expensive. It costs more workers, whereas this gives you opportunity to only place one worker. So you could build 3 dinosaurs in a round if you had the DNA. So it's quite nice that those 2 lab upgrades are always available.
Yeah.
And you can buy DNA in this round as well. So like we were saying with the dice, if you didn't get what you wanted, you can always purchase DNA in this round. So that's quite nice as a bit of a fail-safe. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, one thing about these lab upgrades is that they're probably my most favorite of the 3 things you can buy here. The most interesting because they give you alternate actions when you come to the worker next phase, but they're not all equal for sure. Because as we say, security is the hardest part of this game, right? Increasing your security level to match with your threat level. And there's certain ones, like I think they're actually both here. So this one is increase your security by 1 level at no cost. You can do it twice, but it will cost 3 workers total. And so that can honestly save you up to about $10. And money in this game is surprisingly tight. It's really tight.
Probably more than that, actually. Because it's 3 every... Sorry, not 3, but money every level.
And then you've got like this one, which is basically, it kind of is similar to this, but you can just increase your security at discounted cost. And anything like this to do with security is like way more valuable than anything else. If you see it, someone's going to buy it. Like it's not getting left there. So it's just kind of quite clear. And sometimes if you can get it early enough, it might influence the entire game really. Because again, it's the hardest part. You have to put a lot of money and effort into increasing your security. And if someone can get it free for the whole game, then it's just like...
I guess, again, it ties back to the objectives, because yesterday we played a game, one of the objectives was to get your security level to 10.
Yep.
So I purchased that lab upgrade because that was going to make it easier for me to do that. But to be fair, like even though it is difficult to manage the threat versus security, you know, if there was an objective... have 15 DNA in your storage, which I think there has been, like that one could actually be better.
Yeah.
So there is actually a little bit of balance there. And to be fair, they're not unique. So when they get cleared out, they get replaced. So like this one I've seen be out on the table twice. So it's not
I didn't know you had it yesterday actually. It's
not like you're completely shut out. I mean, I guess you've got to be a bit lucky that it gets then redrawn, but they're not unique. Yeah. So I mean, there's 3 on here now that relate to security. Yeah. So, okay, maybe someone takes that, but then just take that.
Yeah, but I think there are levels though. But yeah, and some are fine, some are not. Like, it's just, but I just think that, I mean, they're okay. They're interesting enough. But it's just like like this one's a good example. It says, you may hire 1 additional specialist because you can only have 3 of these specialists. But it's like, are you going to get 3 in a game? It's pretty rare. With everything else, right? Like you might, but it's like a weird thing, right? Where is it worth paying $2 for this to then pay another like amount to get a 4th one? And I don't know. It seems like a very rare use one, right?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. In terms of that, not as useless, but very rare that it would be something you go for over anything else.
What do you think of this mechanic where if you purchase the DNA, you discard one of the things from the row?
Yeah, I think... it's a bit superfluous.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because, again, it's just like, it depends on the turn order. It's like so much of this game depends on the turn order because you're either going to, and also what DNA you want. It's like, it's so situational because it's like you need to go, no one's going to go, oh, I want 2 DNA, but if I get 3 DNA, I can discard this and stop tallying it. Because money is just tight and you're like, I'm not going to waste that $1.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, I guess.
You totally would do that. You would totally waste
Not in this game. Not in this game. I need the money too bad. But yeah, it's fine. Like, it's fun if you were going to get DNA anyway and that you know there's something that someone wants. Then it's like an alliance. It's good fun. And I think, like, it's not a useless mechanic, but it's superfluous because it's not something that I think people will be doing very often tactically. Because remember, you only get 2 turns here. You can gain money. And there's like, 4, 8, 12, 16 actions you can take. And are you going to be using the one and someone else? You know, it's just, But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's a little bit pointless because also you don't often know what other players are aiming for, particularly. So you wouldn't tactically
that's
go,
true.
oh
That's
yeah,
true.
I am going to spend an extra dollar to get rid of something from the $3 row because I have no idea what you want. I mean, some of them are clearly better than others, so maybe then you would be like, oh, someone's going to like buy that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it out the game.
I mean, I did do that yesterday. I think I got some advanced DNA, and there was like it was like a roller coaster or something that would give someone 5 spaces, and I'm like, I'll never afford that, but maybe Tallie and Farrell can.
Yeah.
So then, I just like discarded it. So it's tactical, but it's only because
we wouldn't have been able to afford it anyway because they're like those sorts of spaces and tiles. They are really expensive. So
it's only because I was there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is the marketplace. I think is fine. Like I said, security lab upgrade tiles, they vary in usefulness, and some are way better than others. I think pointless kind of attractions. But yeah, I think they're specialists, whatever. But yeah, so phase 3 is where you do the worker placement thing on your board. And it's like you can refine DNA. So Tallie said basic into advanced DNA, create a dinosaur. You can, so if you want to get like 2nd, 3rd, 4th dinosaur in your paddocks, you need to upgrade the paddock. So you pay a bit of money and you get extra spaces. You can do that here. You can upgrade security. You can get money from the bank. So I guess one thing that I'm really not a fan of this round, I guess you won't care about too much, but is that you do it, everyone does it simultaneously. So it's a solo endeavor. So you sit there and you're like, right, I'm going to make a dinosaur, put one in your park and all this. And you just sit there and then you look up and like, oh, everyone's done okay. And what I dislike about this is classically, if you do worker placement, it's like, you take it in turn order because you see what people do. I guess it's like nice in one way that no one can block you off, but I hate that it's simultaneous because what tends to happen, it's hard to explain without going to the end game goals, really.
Just go for it.
No,
in context.
I think I'll loop back around, but yeah, right. I mean, the whole thing's fine, right? Let's say this, let's go on a different tact. I think it could be a worry for some people that it's a very easy round to cheat in. I don't think it's been a consideration ever for us, but I think that if someone that you play with or, I don't know, a family member who's not that interested, they could very easily cheat massively in this part.
That's very true.
Because there's no supervision. You never have any idea how much DNA anyone else has or something. It's like not really easy to see unless you stand up and look. You don't know their dinosaur recipes. You don't know what they can make. You don't know if they're paying proper money.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to teach it, as well, it's
it's not even cheating. People could unintentionally do something wrong very easily unless you're like staring over them all the time.
Because sometimes you might like just be like, oh, I'm going to refine DNA, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh, make a dinosaur. Oh no, that was the wrong thing. So then you like move it back, and then I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is definitely a situation. I think, So I think we'll have to loop back to this, but this is where you can increase your threat and your security level. You make dinosaurs. You follow the recipe. But I think we'll come back to it later, but I don't have that much, because obviously it needs to be in context, so I don't have that much to say.
So the solo thing doesn't bother me too much. Like, I know what you mean about worker placement, and usually others are blocking you, but here, you've only got limited spaces, so you need to manage like your own spaces rather than worrying about whether other people take the spaces. So it's not like you can still just do whatever you want with your workers. You have to consider, you've only got a limited amount. You've got some areas on your player board are actually unlimited. So if you had unlimited workers, you could go there. But some are restricted, especially when you start getting more of the lab upgrades. So you do have to consider, do I want to spend one worker to go here or here? So there's still a little bit of like, challenge in getting the workers to the right places for your own,
I think you're right. There's a good choice here. When you go through lab upgrades, good decisions to be made. It's like tough sometimes. Sometimes you're like, oh, how can I optimize the number of workers I have? But I think we'll have to loop back to this, the main part, because there's not much here. It's just putting workers down and doing actions. The actions are varied and interesting, like it all kind of feels in the game. But
one thing that I do really like is there's a venture capital space, a space where you can always get money. And I like that because I feel like...
Do you know what? I wish you could upgrade it. That would be great. Get like 6 money next time or something.
Yeah, there isn't an upgrade for that, right?
Yeah.
But it's always giving you the
No, I don't
option
think there is.
to get a bit of money, and that... who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
I don't even have to explain why that's good.
I think it's a space that gets used every round.
Yeah.
So...
One thing I will say, though, about the threat level, so as you build, deploy, whatever we're going to say... Deploy. More dinosaurs, you move your threat level up according to whatever the dinosaur recipe is saying. You do have to then remember to go back to what we mentioned in phase 1,
with the
where
die.
If the one of
the
the die is
pips
left,
on them.
and there's
Threat
2 or
pips.
3, it can be 2 or 3 threat level. You have to sort of remember that and just add it onto your own threat level. I mean, you could move your cube in line with it just to check that it's in line with your security level and it doesn't overtake it. But then it's like, okay, new round. Oh, I'll move it back, or I'll just remember it. And I don't know. I don't know what the solution would be, but it's a bit jarring.
I mean, I guess that's something that in the reverse. Actually, this is an inverse where it's something that's just never bothered me. Actually, it's quite funny because I just look at it and I'm like, right, 2, and I'm like, I'm safe.
No, it makes me feel like I'm like, I hope I've got it right.
It's not neat, untidy.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, that's actually never bothered me. So I mean, there's a point. I think it would annoy people, but it's never bothered me. I just look. But yeah, all right. So phase 4, which is where you draw patrons out of the bag. I think. Yeah, so go first, you draw as many excitement level as you have, and you'll get hooligans and patrons.
That's a lot of hooligans.
Yeah, I know. And we'll get to that. And you line them up outside, and then you get money for each one. And then you have to obviously fit them in all the spaces you can. And the hooligans go first because they're sly and sneaky, and they don't pay.
What?
Hooligans. But... thematically, I find this a bit strange because everyone pays money to get in your park and then they don't go in the park.
I always get confused. Every
so
time we get
weird.
this game out, I have to be like, Farrell, does everyone pay even if they don't come in?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah,
because that's the main way you get money, right? But I really feel like thematically it would make much more sense if you had a little square or something where
they're in the parking lot. Yeah,
no, just because obviously you have people walking around, right? It's just like you could say that you get a VP, which is like a good review for seeing the dinosaur, right? And that's where you get VP. And they don't see the dinosaur, it's too busy, so they're just walking around. Okay. So it would make more sense to have like a little square where you just put them or something, right?
Yeah.
Or they're just dotted around like in between places, or there's little trails or something. But I just find it very strange that they all pay and then they don't get in.
I agree with that one, yeah. It is very weird and it always confuses me. I'm like, this can't be right. They pay and they don't come in the park.
It's great. It's great for me, but not for them.
Lined up outside here, aren't they, in the queue?
Great for me, not for them.
Yeah.
So then, not much happens here really. One thing that is a bit funny is that if your threat level is higher than your security level, the difference is how many patrons will be eaten. And then they don't give you, you get the money for them, but they don't give you VP, and in fact they give you negative VP. So that's something to be aware of. But I guess my main problem with this, and it's like a summary of the game as a whole, almost a little bit. Not really. Mainly this one, okay? It's like played out, it's like a mix of like American Euro game, right? Like almost bits of it are like kind of luck, and bits of it, like a lot of it is strategy. But when it comes down to this, it's like obviously total luck, draw of the bag. Yeah. So, this draw I got here means I get 3 less VPs than I would have done. And to be fair, there's not that many hooligans in the bag comparatively. So drawing 3 out of 8 is huge, right? That's a huge
that's unfortunate.
Loss. And my point is that this game, I think honestly one time I lost because in the final round you got like 1 hooligan and I got like 4. And like the difference in VP was that much. And it's just like for me, it's not something that super bothered me, but it might bother people. But it's just like you have this big strategic game. What lab upgrades do I get? What dinosaurs do I get? What DNA do I get? How do I do it? Should I get that specialist? What action should I do on the player board? And then it comes to the final bit and you have the final turn of the game. And then it's like, oh, well, Tallie got all patrons and I got 4 hooligans. And it's like, well, that's it then, that's the game.
But you can get specialists, like, isn't it the PR manager and the security guard or something like that, that mean that if you do have hooligans in your park, you won't lose VP, or they let you put a hooligan back and redraw or something like that. And to be fair, if you went for a strategy where you over-spaced, had lots of spaces in your park, then yeah, it's annoying that you might draw them, but then at least it's not at the expense of the patrons because you can fit everyone in. So it really just depends. Like if you don't have enough space in your park, so the paying patrons are waiting outside, then yeah, you're going to lose VP. But if you've got space in your park, you've built lots of dinosaurs, everyone can fit in. Yeah, it's annoying that they don't give you VP or pay, but at least you can fit everyone in. So there is a strategy there in like maybe having lots of spaces in your park to compensate for the hooligans. You
do get, I guess, specialists that, like, I think there's a security guard or something that you can put them on. But then again, it comes back to like double randomness, right? Where you have this bag random. Is that guy going to come up? Are you going to be able to get the security guard? Like,
true.
Are you going to be able to negate it, basically? And you're right. If you have a lot of spaces, then it's like fine, right? But it doesn't matter because I'm still losing 3 VP either way, if you know what I mean.
True.
It's not my biggest peeve with the game, but it's just something that I think definitely would piss people off, right? So yeah, anything else about phase 4? Because it's pretty straightforward, really. Like that's all you do. You put them up. It's fun. It's definitely a fun phase for sure to like see what you get and line them up and be like, oh no, I can't fit 2 of them in, like kind of thing.
It can be quite fun as well, depending on what you purchase in phase 2. But some of the attractions let you choose between money and VP for the patrons.
I've never actually done that. Never done that.
I got one yesterday, and I actually chose to get money in the beginning round because it would help me obviously improve the park. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's good. Good point. All right, so shall we go to the
favourite topic?
Favourite topic of mine, and the thing I hate most. So I play this game every time, and the reason I'm a bit down on it sometimes is that
I beat him.
Sure, but it's because 85% of the game and the mechanisms are fun, and then there's 15% of them that drive me nuts, and it just sucks all enjoyment, and it provides only frustration, and I always then end the game like miserable and salty. And I'm just like, when I think of playing it next time, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go through that again. So this is what I hate most about Dinosaur Island. And it is that you have these end game objectives. And this is what ends the game. So in this case, there's 5 of them laid out. When 4 of them are claimed, the game ends immediately at the end of that round. And they basically can only be claimed in the phase when the first person claims them. So if Tallie claims this one, I can only do that at the same time in that phase, or else it's gone forever, it's locked. And so what happens though is that a lot of them come down to like this phase here where you work solo. So a lot of them will be like have 9 dinosaurs, or like get an excitement level of 10 or get security level of 10, whatever, right? And all of that happens here where you play solo and no one knows what you're doing. So it becomes impossible for a lot of objectives for anyone else to know if anyone else can score them or not. So what can literally happen is it can be like this. They're all empty going into this worker phase. And at the end of the phase, the game's like ending. And there's no way to know. And I find it crazy with this design that there is no way to know when the game will end. Because almost every game does it. It has like a trigger or a track or rounds and usually if they do this, what they do is they have a final round to to kind of end things up, and they don't do that here, so it just ends. And if you get caught out, like everything you've done for the last hour and a half, out the window, it doesn't matter. And one thing worse is that because you don't do this worker placement in turn order, so you can't see what people are doing. As I said, I think earlier, you have no idea how much DNA they have. You have no idea what dinosaurs they can create or how many. You have no idea really what they're doing. And so you kind of do your thing, and then suddenly someone's like, oh yeah, I've done this, this, and this, and like the game's over. And then you're like, it's like this dilemma, right? It's like you could have done that, and I know you're going to say this. It's like, I could have done that, and I would have if I'd known the game was going to end. But I didn't know it was going to end, so I didn't do that. And what my problem is that it creates a system where you play the game because you want to create a lovely dinosaur park. And what happens is it becomes a race to get objectives.
Like most other games ever. Don't understand your problem.
But the objectives are at the cost of having fun building the park. They are. They totally are.
No, they're not.
They totally are.
No, because some of them... See, I disagree, right? Because I always actively work towards the objectives. I don't just sit there and build dinosaurs for the good of my health. I always look at the objectives and I see which ones I like, or, you know, how the game plays out, and I actively go for them. Because as well as ending the game, I mean, it's not that I particularly want to end the game. It's more because they're worth good victory points. So yesterday in the game, I think I claimed 3. That's 21 victory points. So I play the game with the objectives in mind, not to end the game, but because they're score for VP. And the fact that they end the game just happens to be part and parcel of the game for me. So that it just doesn't bother me, because I feel like if you didn't have objectives, there's no direction. I use that as direction for what I'm doing. So for me, they're like a big part of the game. I kind of get what you mean. Like maybe there should be another final round so everyone gets a chance to do one more round once the trigger has started. But I use those for direction in the game. Otherwise I'll just be like, oh, I'll make a dinosaur. Oh, what shall I do now? And it's like, you have no direction. For me, it's just like, I just play the game and like, how can I get the most VPs? Like, how am I going to get this big park with lots of dinosaurs? And I'm getting like loads of people in, and I've got like big money dinosaurs, and I'm trying to like create a really like nice, thriving park. And for me, it's more that it's not one thing, and this is because all these weird mechanics, right? Like we didn't touch on it, but you know, you've got like dice drafting and fake worker placement and real worker placement and marketplace and like park building. It's basically that all of these weird design choices come together in a really like unholy way. It's like the fact that you can only claim them in that one phase or else they're gone forever. The fact that they're worth so many VPs in consideration of the game itself. The fact that you can't know if anyone is able to claim them. And just, you know, the fact that you have this solo round. They all combine to me to make like this horrible, unfun mess where, like, to be fair, I get your point more now that you're like, oh, they give me direction, so I work towards them. But like, for me, I want to play the game to enjoy the game and build like the best dinosaur park. I hold on. I just don't want to play it towards some arbitrary objective. So I would disagree that they're arbitrary. I think if you're not doing those things, you've got problems in your park.
No.
Like, it increases security. Yeah, you have to. You have to do that. Because otherwise you're not getting good enough dinosaurs out. So
Counterpoint though, is that because of these objectives, like I think we can both agree that a lot of them can be very unbalanced in terms of ease of doing them. Compared to length of game. Remember when...
Well, I don't think it's like that they're easy. It's more about the length of the game.
No, I know, but I'm saying some of them you can literally complete in round 2 in a medium game when you should have like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8. Others you complete and it'll take like 12 rounds. Yeah. So you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Like I remember once we played either a medium or long game and Tallie literally got one in the second round. And I think you weren't even particularly, like you were aiming for it, but it wasn't your main goal. And it was like, get like 13 DNA or something. And it was just like, she got it in the second round. And it's like, and this is my point, is that if one of them, I think one of them's like have 3 attractions, right? Mm-hmm. And I can sit there every round for the first 3 rounds and get an attraction tile, right? And I claim that. Yeah. But like, but then I have to get an attraction tile every round, and I want a lab upgrade. I want a specialist.
But that's the choice. That's the choice you
But
make.
but it's my point. For me, the game is forcing me down a route that I'm not interested in.
But
like,
what would you have? How would you have the end trigger then instead? Would you have like no objectives?
I would honestly, I would probably just either I think I'd either a set number of rounds. I think.
But that would be so boring to me to just sit and make the same.
Okay, maybe.
Every game, it would just be, make a dinosaur, make a dinosaur.
All right, fine. But I would at least, minimum, if we keep it like this, I would just open them up for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe even have like you could score, 2 people could score this one, unless they do it in the same round or something, something like that.
Yeah.
Because the way it is now, for me, it's literally that you need to do them and you need to do them as soon as possible because there's so many VP there that for me, you get to the end of the game and then, everyone's rushed to do these and it just sucks. Personally for me, this is personal, like not for you. It just sucks the fun out of the game to like have to be like, right, well, I know Tallie's going to do this, so now I have to buy a lab upgrade every time if I even want to keep my head above the water.
You have to do the same ones as me. There's always a choice, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have to go for the same things as and
okay.
You could go for that one and I could go for that one. And
but so if we just take these as an example, this you can do in 4 rounds. All of the rest...
No, you can't buy 4 lab upgrades in because they're expensive. Like, it's not that easy. It's not like you just sit and choose, I'll choose that, I'll choose that. It's not as easy as that because you have to manage your money. It's expensive.
If you go for it, if you went for it, you could do it. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, easy.
But then you wouldn't be able to do any other objectives. For me, it's about like the balancing of them. Like, you could just choose one objective and go for it. But then you'd be a bit screwed once you'd got that because you wouldn't have done anything else. So I think it's interesting because you have to balance all of these things in the rounds. Okay, I like the look of these 2 objectives. I could do that with how the game's played out. Maybe I went first and I could choose that. Okay, but if I do that one only, I'm not going to be able to do any more. And you have to sort of go through and balance everything out to make sure that you're hitting the objectives right at the right time so you don't lock yourself out of the other ones.
I can appreciate your point. I think it's just nothing is more crushing in any game to me than in this one where you do your entire worker placement phase and then you look up and the game's gone from like 1 objective being claimed to 5 being claimed and like it's over and you're just like, and because like it's like I say, you just wasted your time, like everything you did was pointless, like it's in the game, it's like it's more like that's how it ends, right? But I definitely think they could be altered. And to be fair, in the expansion, they even added like some sort of errata that because they knew that like it wasn't enough. I think they made you add more cards depending on players and stuff to make it more far-reaching, which is a bit better. Okay. But so the next big thing is the turn order problem. So whoever's last in VP goes first, and they go first throughout the entire round. So it means they get first pick of dinosaurs and dice. They get first pick of any tiles they want. Well, I guess that's it because it's these 2 phases. But it's just, it kind of...
And they get to choose their patrons first.
Yeah,
but I guess that doesn't matter so much because it is pure luck.
But so the issue is that Dinosaur Island's not really a game where you get big points until like the final scoring when you do the objectives. Because what tends to happen is maybe someone takes a preparatory first round and they only get like 1 patron in and they get 1 VP for that, and someone else builds like 2 basic dinosaurs and they get like 3 in, and then they go ahead, and then they might kind of build up their engine a bit, but generally it's not like you really ever have someone, if they're all equally experienced, getting like 10 patrons in and 5 patrons in. They'll usually be like 10 to 8 or something. And it just doesn't really... So what I'm saying is the turn order doesn't change.
Once someone's ahead, they're ahead.
It's not a game where like this round Tallie will get 5 points, next round I'll get 7 points and she'll get 3 points. It just stays like more or less the same with tiny increments equally. So once someone's behind it by a few VP, they stay behind by a few VP. So they get first pick of everything all game. And then what happens is, because they've got first pick of all the best tiles, of all the best dinosaurs and everything else, they essentially leap out in the final scoring because they've got like all the best dinosaurs and all the best upgrades, and they've been like creating this amazing park, and they claim all the objectives or whatever, right? And they basically just leap ahead of everyone, and it's like a runaway like last place problem. I
disagree. Last night, Dinosaur Queen again.
Oh,
I was last the entire game. I don't think that's.
No, you first the entire game.
No, because I was last on the VP track. No, sorry.
Yeah.
First.
But that's because we were playing with someone. It was like his first game, and he did terribly. I don't think you can count him in the context of the competition.
Fair enough.
But do you not agree then that?
Yeah, no, I agree that it can be a little bit
annoying. It's a huge
annoying.
advantage if you can do it. And there's actually a strategy online that I've seen that people actively get people eaten to drop back in the VP early on to do this, right? It's a genuine strategy. I don't think we've ever done it purposely, but...
Again, didn't even think about that.
But, like, it's so strong, and it's a nice idea, but it really doesn't work in practice. And it's like, it should really just be rotating turn order or something.
Yeah, probably. I think, though, the only thing that...
I get the idea, but...
Yeah, the only place I find that annoying is the dinosaurs, because it really is only one per dinosaur available. I don't find it particularly annoying with the tiles and the lab upgrades and everything, because like I said before, I think a lot of them do similar things. It doesn't annoy me that much if someone takes one, because I'll just take the other one, and if this one down here is too expensive, next round it's going to be up here. I mean, I guess they could buy it again, but then they wouldn't buy it again, because if it does something similar, no one would buy the same sort of upgrade. So even if you don't get it that round, there is a good chance that you might get a similar upgrade in the next round, because you don't need to buy lab upgrades that are the same or do the same thing.
All right. So I guess final thing, not final thing, so we'll talk about the components bit, but the final, I guess, game mechanism thing that we can end on a good note, I think, is these plot twist cards, where you draw two randomly at the start of every game, and they shake things up. And it might be like start with an extra worker, or,
Some of them are ongoing, aren't they? Like everyone gains DNA at the end.
At the start, yeah. So they're quite good, actually. I personally really like them. I think they really change up like each game to game. They're a really nice little thing, and they're all quite interesting and cool. I just think they're a really like nice little addition, and we'll always play with them. And there's quite a lot of them, particularly if you get the expansion. I just don't know what you think about the plot twists.
I think they're good, but I think they're good. I think some of them are just a bit like meh. Yeah,
for sure. Like this hooligan one we got last night, or even the specialist one. I don't think like this is like you can hire one additional specialist, and it's like we said before. I mean, it's like you'd have to really be going for them to get 4, and it'd be an issue, right? And there's also a tile as well.
Yeah, but some of them are pretty helpful.
Yeah, they're nice. They add variety, and I think I like them. So just coming on to the components, it's a bit like weird, right? Because this is real mishmash, and we touched on this, that you get like crappy tokens for scientists, but then you get little workers for the work placement. Like why don't you get the same thing for both? Also, I'm not a fan that like everything's plastic, right? I always prefer wood personally, and like better for the environment, and I'm not happy that you get like 100 plastic meeples and 100 plastic dinosaurs. And then one annoying thing is that all the dinosaurs are the same dinosaur. Like I would have much rather there'd be like, I don't know, even like 2 or 3 different ones. It's just kind of boring to just have 100 Triceratops on everyone's boards, right?
You're like, I've built a T-Rex, and it's just
no. That's one of the most disappointing things, I think, that they're not different. Not that I wanted 100 different dinosaurs or a special one, just like 3 would have been good.
Yeah, you could have had herbivore, large and small carnivore.
Yeah, and then it's just it's kind of like, I don't know, like...
It is really random. Like the player board is really nice.
Divots. You know how we love divots.
Love a divot. I'm a big fan, and it's nice and thick, and it's just really nice, isn't it? But then...
It's great.
Some other
But then you get like dinky scoreboard and like other player board. Like they just, I don't know, they don't ooze quality, right?
Yeah.
And then you have so many tiles of everything. And tiles are like so annoying to work with, especially when you need to randomize them. And then randomly you just have these as cards. And so I was thinking about this because I was like, it would have been way better if everything was cards. But obviously, because you need to put the tiles here, you can't, which is fine. But it's just, yeah. And then you get this lovely like felt bag.
So that's really nice.
But then the plastic like things aren't that great quality. Like there's like little marks on them, and you know, like they're just not perfect, right?
Yeah, this is a bit annoying, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I'll take a smaller box over having a huge board in something, to be fair, but you could have a foldable board and this would lay on the board, and maybe this could have divots rather than being laid out on the table. Picking
up from this as well, actually, it's a good point. That I don't know why these weren't all just put on like one board. And this is a table hog. It doesn't look like it now, maybe. But if you play with like 3 people, the entire table, because of all the stuff and you have to make room, you got these cards and you got yours. And yeah, it's just, you're right. If it was a big board, it would have been better. And I guess the final note is the storage, and it's the worst storage of any game we own. Do we agree on that?
Agreed.
It's like the only game I've considered buying like a custom insert for, but I also don't want to buy it because I don't think the game deserves it. If that makes sense. It's like not a worthy game to have to go through that money and effort. Yeah. But it's so painful.
It is really
bad. Because I have all these tiles, it's the only game that when we put it away for the first time, I repackaged 3 times, couldn't get it closed, and then had to look online on Board Game Geek to figure it out.
Yeah, and there's no way of we tried to keep the tiles together with rubber bands, but then they didn't fit properly in the box because the space is that tight.
And then you've got 3 plus tiles, you've got 4 plus player tiles, which like you want to separate depending what you're doing, and then you want to include them and shuffle them if you do have that many. It's just like, it's horrendous getting them all back in and making it close. It's a bit better because we have the expansion, and obviously there's 2 boxes, but the expansion box is like the same size as a normal game, which is not great either. But you can't get rid of it because all the stuff doesn't really fit in the main game. Because obviously there's so much cardboard, it all comes stacked in little sheets. And so they're all nice and flat, but then you pop them all out and stack them and it's like, oh, it doesn't fit. There's no thought really put into the storage of this game, and it's just the worst storage solution. It's the most difficult to get back in. It's like such a long setup. It's such a long put away time. Yeah. All right. Final thoughts from Tallie then. No. All right.
No, you go first. Obviously, we've debated a lot.
Yeah.
But would you recommend this game, Farrell?
Do you know what?
Overall summary?
It's a weird one because I was a big fan of Roller Coaster Tycoon when I was growing up.
Was I. Sick.
And it really reminds me of that and Jurassic Park, I guess, a theme. And all of these little mechanics, they're all kind of fine. Like, obviously, I have some big issues with how it ends. But obviously, that ruins my enjoyment retrospectively because, like, I don't like how it ends and, like, being unprepared. And then, because we touched on this a bit in our Kanban review, that I just don't. I like to know how long it's going to last, strategize. But yeah, I mean, I have fun playing it. It's just that the end kind of ruins it for me. And there's obviously, like, a few little niggles. I don't think it would ever be in, like, my top 20 list or something. But I'm also not sure it'd be one like I'd be like, yeah, let's get rid of it.
No, that's not allowed.
It would hover around like the bottom of that, like, you know, cutoff point. But I don't think I would get rid of it just because it's interesting and like thematic. One thing that I find a bit annoying actually is that you would think with the theme it would be quite a family-friendly game, and it's actually quite difficult and complex. Not difficult, but it's because, as we say, each thing is like a separate thing. It's like teaching 4 games for the 4 phases. So even running through it to friends who like played it once, I think last night, it's like, oh, this does that, and then you do this here, and then you do that totally different thing here, and that's a bit annoying. It would have been a bit nicer if it was a bit easier to include like more casual gamers. Because as it is, I found this is in this weird position where if you're like moderate hardcore gamer, you'll be annoyed with some of the things because you've played better things and nothing is new here. But if you're a beginner gamer, it's like a bit too difficult and fidgety and like complex.
Yeah.
It's that weird middle space where, but anyway, so I wouldn't get rid of it. I do enjoy playing it. I often end disappointed, and I don't know how many times I want to end disappointed, but yeah.
That's usually because I've...
Yes, yes. But last point for me is I've seen people put this in like their top 10 games of all time. So it's definitely for someone, and I think the theme does a lot of heavy lifting, but you know, then it's fine. I think people will like it. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I like it. I think when we first got it, it was in maybe my top 5, maybe. Now we've got other games, it might have slipped out of there.
I think it definitely has, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You've put 2 in there in the last like 3 weeks.
True. It's board game of problems, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a fun little game. The problems that you have it, you know, I recognise that they are maybe like faults and issues, but it for me, it just doesn't bother me. So if those things that Farrell was mentioning wouldn't bother you, then I would recommend it. I think the theme is really cool. Like whenever we were getting it out, like just to set up for this, I was like, oh, this makes me so happy.
And then you cry as you set it up for 20 minutes.
It's really cool, and just like little things like, you know, it's quite comical, right? And like the little tile attractions, like this one's called Dinosaur Fryland because it's a fry store. That's
there is
funny.
some fun. That's
funny, and I really like that. I like games that are maybe a little bit more like have a comical thing or like light-hearted. I understand the issues, but I think it's just really fun to me. So if you can take like the little bit of randomness at the end and with the cards and everything, and you just want something fun with a fun theme, then get it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. I guess, well, not apologising for rambling on for a long time, but yeah, so this is what you voted for if you're a regular viewer. But yeah, so like we said, I mean, hopefully you can see there's a lot of weird stuff and things to talk about. It sounds too positive if I say it's one of the most interesting games I've ever played. But yeah, it's just so much because it is this weird game with like 4 different games in it. It's just so much to discuss. Yeah, so thanks for watching.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with a regular review, I think, next week. But thank you. Yep.